Hello and welcome everyone. From the woman who is reunited with her two adopted lions after more than 7 years of separation, to the incredible rescue of a cobra by a snake charmer. Here are the 10 most touching animal moments caught on camera. Let's get started. Edgar is a young Argentinian farmer who lived peacefully in his ranch, tending to his plantations and cattle. He was therefore used to being around animals, which he had learned to love and respect in the same way as human beings. But one day, while he was immersed in his work, he saw an Andean condor sitting in his backyard. The bird was injured, as it could no longer fly away and one of its legs was obviously broken. Edgar knew he had to do something for the poor animal to put it out of its misery. The young man approached the fierce bird very gently while speaking to it in a soft and soothing voice, which resulted in calming it. Edgar was able to heal the animal's leg by applying a tourniquet and brought back some food and water. The bird stayed in the yard until its wound was healed, never lacking for anything thanks to Edgar, who even gave it the name Condorito. Once he was fully recovered, the condor flew away, and Edgar thought he would never see his great feathered friend again. But he was wrong because, after only a few days, the condor was back. Edgar was crazy with joy and understood that Condorito had come back with the only purpose of seeing him again because a great friendship united them from now on. Since then, the majestic condor keeps coming back to Edgar to thank him for having taken care of him and given him shelter, but also to cuddle him a little. Do you know what the difference is between a camel and a dromedary? If you answer that the difference is in the number of humps, you are completely right. The dromedary has only one hump, while the camel has two. But the differences don't stop there in truth, and many characteristics are unique to each of the two animals. Whether it is the size, the weight, or the areas of distribution, many are the points of dissimilarity between the two camelids. However, despite all their differences, these animals will feel the same love for you, provided of course that you treat them well. These desert animals are not ungrateful, and if you give them good food and fresh water, they will return the favor. Look at the proof of love that this camel has for his master, who had been away from the herd for several days. As you can see, the animal is literally hugging its owner with its big flexible neck. The scene is full of emotions and shows us how endearing these animals are. Now you know that no matter how many humps a camel or dromedary has, it will love you unconditionally, as long as you take care of it and spoil it. In 2020, many people were separated from their loved ones, stranded in another city or country by the quarantine measures related to the COVID-19 pandemics. Some were not able to see their families or friends until after the first decontamination. This was the case, for example, of Ismael Fernandez, a 38-year-old Andalusian from Malaga, who was separated from his family when he found himself stuck in another city. But after 2 long months away from home, the confinement measures were eased, which finally allowed Ismael to return home, where his family welcomed him with great pomp, all happy to see him again. But no joy can equal the joy of his reunion with his donkey. Yes, you heard me right, it's a donkey. Indeed, Ismael's donkey was his favorite pet, and a great friendship united them for more than 5 years. They were literally inseparable, and the 2 months they had spent so far apart had really marked them. Thus, at the time of their reunion, the two friends offered a very moving spectacle, embracing and literally sobbing with joy. The well-known proverb says, "Slow and steady wins the race." And we can say that Ismael Fernandez understood this adage and took such good care of his donkey, that this one would follow him everywhere, even in hell. People are used to adopting cats or dogs, even parrots or hamsters when they want to accommodate a pet. But there are some people who prefer animals, let's say, a little wilder and more disproportionate. This brings us to this young American woman, who one day decided to raise cubs in her small suburban home. The sweet kittens were obviously cute as can be at the beginning, but as the days went by, they became bigger and more voracious. There was seriously running out of room in the house for these 2 young cubs, and their appetite threatened to ruin their mistress. She had to part with them, which of course made her very sad. But since she had no choice, she gave her 2 beloved cubs to the Florida Zoo. The 2 little felines left their dear human mother, who had fed them with a bottle from the first days of their existence. Years passed, but the young woman had never forgotten her 2 furry friends, so one day she decided to fly to Florida, and go to the zoo to see her 2 beloved felines. In front of their enclosure, the young woman thought for a moment that the 2 cubs, who had grown into adult lions, would surely not recognize her. But when they saw her, they literally jumped on her, drowning her in a profusion of hugs and warm embraces. Thus, the 2 lions had immediately recognized the woman who had fed and pampered them, when they were only small frightened kittens. Who doesn't love teddy bears, those sweet companions of children that they love to cuddle and give affectionate nicknames? But Samyon is not really what you would call a teddy bear, at least not with his 600 kilograms of muscle and fur. Samyon is indeed a real brown bear, 3 years old, and like all the representatives of his species, he is endowed with an incredible strength and terrible claws, capable of cutting a tree in two. So the animal is a real killing machine, but that's not really Samyon's goal in life. Because this young bear has such a sweet character, he prefers to spend his time cuddling with his master, Mikhail Zaretsky, a wild animal trainer in Moscow, Russia. Samyon and Zaretsky are the best friends in the world and have become almost inseparable over time. Samyon is not a teddy bear, on the contrary, he is a real teddy bear to cuddle without moderation. Sea lions are very playful and mischievous marine mammals, but they are also excellent underwater fishermen, who catch almost every time. And to maximize their catches, these naughty sea otters do not hesitate to go snooping around fishing boats, because they know that the fishermen's nets will be filled to the brim with delicious sardines. But sometimes the poor sea lion gets its head stuck in the traps while trying to bite a fish, and unfortunately ends up drowning. Sea lion that appears in this footage experienced this terrible scenario but was nevertheless lucky enough not to drown. However, a large piece of the fishing net was wrapped around her neck, threatening to strangle her inexorably, as the more she moved, the tighter it got. But fortunately for her, some caretakers noticed it, and so they rushed to free her from the terrible thread that threatened to kill her. The poor sea lion had a very stressful moment, before finally being saved in extremis by these nice humans. That said, this episode of terror will certainly make her crave sardine fillets or sardines in a net. On the Brazilian roads that crisscross the Amazon, it is not uncommon to come across exotic animals, such as monkeys or tapirs, or even anteaters. These beautiful wild animals certainly don't like to be on asphalt with thousands of moving vehicles, but they have no choice because they have to move around in search of food. But if these animals cross the road quickly without lingering too much, it is quite different for this poor sloth, which moves very slowly when it is on the ground. With such a pace, the poor animal will need half an hour to cross the road, not to mention the deadly danger of speeding cars and trucks. It is a real obstacle course for this poor lazy person, who risks being run over by a vehicle at any moment. But fortunately, a driver spotted him and decided to help him, getting him safely across the road. The Good Samaritan even took the trouble to put the sloth directly on a tree, then waved him goodbye. To which the animal responded, slowly turning back to his savior, waving in thanks, before beginning to climb his new tree. There is a certain legend that says that cats do not love their masters. But the cat of this sequence does not know this legend, because he shows an immoderate love to his young master. His affection for the latter is so great that he literally kisses him in the mouth. This cat, overflowing with love, does not tire of its cuddles, and continues still and still, to beg for kisses to its dear master. And no, he doesn't want a peck on the cheek. He wants a big slobbery kiss on the mouth. And beware of the one who will come to kiss his master, because he is very jealous and will not hesitate to take out his claws to protect. Cats have a reputation for being chronically lazy, eating and snoozing all day long, and won't even move an inch when their owners call. But the cat who appears in this sequence is certainly not part of this type. Named Tara, this cat, who is in fact a female cat, saved the son of his owners from the fangs of a stray dog. The little boy was playing quietly in front of his house when a furious hound came out of nowhere to attack and bite him. But listening only to her courage, Tara threw herself on the dog with such a rage that he had to flee, freeing the terrorized young boy. Thanks to his cat protector, the poor kid got off with only a few stitches. But this heroic act earned Tara, even more, love and affection from her adoptive family, and of course, a bowl full of delicious caviar kibble as a well-deserved reward. Rescuing wild animals has never been an easy task, because you have to be careful not to hurt them, but also not to hurt yourself. This is far from easy, especially when the animal in question is an extremely poisonous king cobra, which had the misfortune to fall into a very deep well. This incredible footage was filmed in India, in the village of Kasar Pimpa, to document the perilous rescue of the large reptile by a daring snake charmer. The latter, suspended with the help of makeshift winches, did not hesitate to sink into this gaping chasm, risking every moment to fall in and break his neck. Equipped with a snake net, the valiant rescuer will try to dislodge the cobra from the wall of the well, where it had managed to hang on. But the snake charmer's attempts had the effect of frightening the cobra, which, while struggling, ended up falling into the well water. The mission of the poor rescuer was going to become much more complicated since he had to catch the snake in the water, whereas the latter is an excellent swimmer and is as elusive as Mercury when in this element. But thanks to the patience and sagacity of the rescuer's master charmer who knew how to keep his cool, the cobra's ordeal finally ended. The young man was finally able to catch the cobra in his net and release it into the forest. And the inhabitants of the village were finally able to draw water quietly in their well, without risking bringing up a king cobra in the bucket. And that's it for today. Which of these 10 moving moments did you enjoy the most? Tell us in the comments, and see you soon for new and unusual discoveries.